So what does an impressive CV and cover letter look like? So this is obviously the ideal for you, that you just get someone else to write down the perfect person and then just put your name on the top of it. But more realistically, first of all, a very strong track record. So, are we going to read your application and feel that you're in an exciting research area that has lots of potential for the future, that you've been working in a strong group and that you've been driving some of the key innovations? And I say the right set of publications because it's not about the number of publications you have. It's about, have you got high quality publications where you're clearly a significant author, so you're not the middle author in everything that's published, and that they're right or sufficient for your career stage. And that's really key. And then evidence of independence, and that's the tricky one really at lecturer appointment level, because a lot of people don't have an awful lot of opportunity to drive their own independent research area when they're very busy on working on the deliverables of a grant for their PI. But if you can demonstrate that you're leading some new research area that just diverges a little bit from your academic supervisor, or that you've won some mobility funding to go and work another group somewhere to learn some new skills or expertise, perhaps in an international lab, or you've developed some new collaborations with key partners. That you might have some independent funding. Obviously at one end you might have funding for your own fellowship, I mean that's extremely good, but perhaps you were a researcher co-investigator on a grant, or you've managed to get a little bit of funding to do a pump priming or feasibility type study, and that you've started building your own partnerships, industrial or external, for instance. That you're building a profile, so are you clearly working in your technical and scientific community nationally or internationally? Perhaps you're just organizing seminars or something like that, or being parts of workshop organization. Are you winning prizes? And do you have a passion for education? So do you have any experience? So if you wanted to be applying for a lecture job and you've not ever wanted to do any help in tutoring or give a guest lecture now and again, or a bit of lab demonstrating, then it does look a bit odd. So if you have some experience of this, that's great. And then just evidence of some passion for education. So perhaps you helped a little bit more by helping develop a lab exercise, or rewrote some resources, or gave a lecture, introduced some new learning resources for the students or something. So you don't have to be responsible for any courses, but just some evidence that you're passionate about teaching. And then who's going to give you a reference? So if your referees are your PI, which it should be, and then you have another reference who happens to be a mate of yours working at another university, then that's not terribly impressive. So it's better if you can find references that are from some leading academics. So if networking when you're a postdoc or a PhD student is very important. So make connections so that they are people that you could ask to be a reference for future jobs. So the interview questions, I said, everyone was asked the same questions. And so just sort of looking a little bit at a typical format. So first of all, there tends to be an introductory question about why the University of Glasgow, why this post, why now? So, part of doing your homework is to make sure you understand why you want to come to the University of Glasgow and not any other university. So you need to be quite specific. Then there'll be some broad research questions, which is usually about where's your research going, what's the vision for your research, what will you be leading, what will you be known for, what sort of facilities are you using? And then there tends to be one or two questions that are more specific on research. So it might be about your key discoveries, what publications you're most proud of and why. Do you understand the funding landscape? How will you find funding for your research going forward? And what impact your research might have in the future or has done in the past. And some questions on teaching, so something about your experience, how you engage with students to help them, what can you teach, and can you teach it differently or innovatively. And then there'll be something on collaboration or collegiality, and that's really to look at how you fit. You know, do you understand how you're going to fit into the environment that you're applying for? Who will you be working with there, and who will you work with nationally and internationally, and how will that be enabled by you being in a post at the University of Glasgow? So my advice is that, you know, before you go for an interview, rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. 30 minutes is not very long, and you really need to be on point. So, you know, one thing I would suggest if you want, I mean, this is going to be available, is look at the sort of questions that I've said are going to come up and give them to a friend and get them to do mock interviews for you, or ask your supervisor to give you a mock interview in advance. But really do rehearse and make sure that you can get what you need to say across to the best of your ability in the time available. And we see lots of difficulties in interview. Nervousness. So nobody minds if you're nervous at an interview. That is not a negative. You know, it's lots of people are and lots of people are not, and that's fine. But if it hampers your ability to get the job because you can't get out what you need to say, then that's quite problematic. So it's fine to be nervous, but just my advice is learn some calming techniques. And I think rehearsing is a very good way of just being calm in an interview, because you've already sort of got a sense of what your answers are going to be. But we have interviewed people with fantastic CVs who just completely crumble in the interview, and it's very hard to help them if it's really that difficult. So do you talk too much? Lots of people we interview just, they don't know when to stop. It's a real difficulty sometimes, but if we only get to ask you a couple of the questions because you ramble on so much, then we're not going to get very much out of the interview, and it will be stopped after 30 minutes. There's no waiting for you to get all your responses out. Or do you answer in too few words? That's another problem we have. So sometimes we are asking a question like, you know, what paper are you most proud of? Why? Can you say why, and what was the contribution to your work? And someone says, oh, this paper in Nature. And then we have to sort of work hard as an interview committee. Well, can you say why? Oh, because that's the best journal. No, but what was it about the research that you were proud of? Well, it was just a very, very good discovery, and we published it, got it into Nature. And so, you know, you need to make sure that you listen very carefully to what the question is asking you and answer in sufficient words, but don't go on and on, okay? I think that well, first of all, practice, because rehearsing is everything, but drawing out a key example to make a point is always a good way to do it. So just saying, well, you know, I'm particularly proud of these 3 papers. They're all being published in the best international journal in my field. But if I pick one out, it's this one, because in this one, we made a discovery of this new material, which we managed to match the strength and stiffness of steel. And, you know, we were particularly proud of that. It's a very important in academic circles. Or something where you draw out one key example. It's very good for practicing. So at the first, when you're asked why the University of Glasgow, and this is just to reiterate why it's important that you know why you're coming here. So I don't think that's a joke anymore, because I feel like it's been like California for ages in here. So while we enjoy the sun, but this is just to remind you that it does rain a lot in Glasgow under normal circumstances. But you'd be surprised how many people are, you know, they're applying for jobs, and we know that you're applying for jobs, and possibly you have applied to Glasgow University because a job in your field has come up at Glasgow University, and you will also apply to any other university where a job in your field comes up. But it's not a good way to start an interview if you really don't have a sense that Glasgow is the place you want to be. So a better sort of answer to the first question is that you have done some homework, that you understand what Glasgow University's vision is all about. It's easy to find on the website. You've looked up some of the people working in the research institute or school or at Glasgow, and you understand that they're doing work that complements yours, but yours is distinctive. There's good synergies, you know, that you think you can pursue your independent research here in particular because we have the facilities that you need. So something that makes Glasgow the place for you.